Hi everybody, today I'm going to make two mixed media tags and I'm starting by stamping a little bit onto the background of these tags. I cut those from Canson XL watercolor paper and I plan to work over the top with some collage papers, some stencil texture and the Distress Crayons. I really like to use those for backgrounds, but I mainly use the Distress Crayons in my sketchbook to lay down color because they have a really lovely texture when you use them on plain paper. But today I'm going to use them together with the stencil texture, which is going to be with matte medium, and the background, which will be covered with a layer of clear gesso later in the process, and that gives you two different bases for the crayon to work over the top of, and that creates some really interesting texture. I'm going to speed up the collage part now because it's not very interesting. I just tear the papers and stick them down, and my video was already quite long, so I always search for parts of it where I can make it a bit shorter, and I think gluing down papers is something you don't need to watch in real time. Once I'm done with the collage part, I add a little bit more stamping because I had the feeling I need a bit more interest on the background. I'm now going to cover the tags with a layer of clear gesso that seals the paper and gives me a nice surface to work over the top of. After the tags were dry, I'm going on top with a stencil and some gel medium. I just create some texture onto the tags. I do not cover the whole tag, just some areas, and that gel medium will dry in a clearer and glossier way than the clear gesso, and that will help to give the background a little bit more interest later when I'm going on top with the pastels and the water. This has to dry now before we can go in with some color. And whilst this is drying, I'm coloring in some images that I wanted to use as focal points. At first I'm using some of our textured mushrooms. I have stamped them here with Versafine Clair in black, and then I have embossed them with clear embossing powder, and here I'm coloring them with Brushos powders. You can use any other medium to color those in. And I think I made a demo for this already in one of my past videos. I really enjoy doing it because it's very easy and loose, and it does not take much effort. I'm just coloring each part and then I let that dry, and then I come in to the next part of the mushrooms and I just wet the area and sprinkle in the brushes. I'm also going to use some of these leaves from our Doodle Flowers stamp set, and I did the same with the Versafine Clair and the clear embossing powder, and I'm coloring them in a greenish shades, also with brushes and the same technique. I really like this technique because it's so quickly done and unpredictable what you are getting, but these images are often the ones I use the most, instead of coloring in something on purpose and then it looks odd or not perfect. These are often quite perfect, I would say. Now my tags are dry and I can work over the top of with the Distress Crayons, and I picked some greenish colors because of the collage and that everything is quite greenish. I wanted to create kind of a greenish background, and I'm just applying the crayons directly to the tags. Because of the texture, I get a lot of material onto the background, and I'm smudging those in with my fingers. Distress crayons are water soluble. You can just dip your finger like I do it here into water and then smudge it around, and now you can see that stencil texture I've added previously. Because of the gel, the Distress crayon will not hold to the gel medium because it's very smooth and it does not have any texture for the pigments to sit in. So this appears quite nicely with these Distress crayons. An alternative to the crayons would be any kind of these water-soluble gel sticks from Faber-Castell, the Gelatos, or from Marabu. There are some available, and I think there are even more no-name brands that do something similar. You could also use Neocolors, just you maybe have to use a little bit more water together with them to get them smudging. And of course you can use watercolors because of the clear gesso. They will hold onto the clear gesso, but they will not hold onto the clear gel because it's smooth and does not have any porous to keep the pigments. So this works with all kinds of different mediums. I feel just with the Distress crayons it's a lot of fun because you can use your fingers and go in and smudge it around. But with those you have to take care a little bit not to overwork it because they quickly become muddy, and especially when you're mixing the wrong colors. This is something to take care of a little bit. But you can see I really enjoy doing it. You can use a brush to move the color around. You can thin it down a bit more to make it more liquidy and fluid, or you can just work with it directly. As always, there are all the links for the products I'm using in the video description, and there's also a link to my blog where you can have a look at the close-up images of the tags. And it would be really lovely if you like the video, if possible, and leave a comment. I know that's always a bit difficult, especially if you're watching on TV. What I do very often when I watch YouTube, that is on my TV, and there it's really hard to leave a comment, but it's easy to like the video. And if you're watching somewhere else, please leave me a comment. I'm always happy to read them. I'm happy with the colors, I think, and I like that I have some white areas, but I'm just thinking about creating kind of a bottom onto the tags with a darker color, and I'm picking the black soot and I'm just smudging it with my fingers. If you add enough water, you can make the color run or the paint run on your surface. Unfortunately, I'm keeping the tag a little bit too high, but I want the black to run into the stenciled area, which gives me some really nice interest, as you can see here. You can easily remove the crayon from the gel medium parts. You could also let that dry and then place the stencil over the top again to remove some of the crayon from the stencil texture. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this later in the process. Yeah, and once the tags were dry, I placed the stencil on top of my texture again and just used a baby wipe to remove the crayon. And so I got that stencil texture even more visible. I now wanted to bring in some more highlights with white splatters, and as almost every time I'm using that Art Graf crayon, I really love the white. I always mention this in my videos, and it's my most used crayon of these colors. And I just use some water, dilute the pigments, and then sprinkle it on top of my tags. I also often use this crayon together with a brush to bring in even more white areas to my work, to lighten up things. It's a really nice crayon. Even when you use it dry, it goes over the top of a lot of mediums. I wanted to use some more collage to arrange my focal images later, and I found these tickets you see on the left that I made a long time ago with some of our ticket stamps, and I think it was a newsprint paper that I had colored with watercolors, but there was nothing apart from the blue ones that I think would work here on the tags, and so I just stamped a few of them onto this old book paper I found in my stash, which is colored in a green shade with acrylic paints, and I thought this is the perfect match for the tag backgrounds. I'm cutting them out, and then I will have a look how they work together with my focal images and with the blue tickets I already had. It now takes a while until I have figured out how to place things and what to do and what not. I thought I will keep this maybe in real time. So in case you're playing along, you also have the time to experiment. If it's too slow for you, you can always use that gear. And there is a setting where you can speed up the video, so everything goes a bit quicker. I have already cut out my mushrooms, and I'm now thinking about where to arrange them and which mushroom and how to combine them with the leaves onto my tags and where to put the tickets. This is the part of the process I also really enjoy because I find it really relaxing placing the images, because the backgrounds are already finished. I can't do something wrong, and as long as I don't glue it in the wrong area, but I just lay it down, have a look and see if I like it, and if I'm sure about the composition, I start gluing down the elements. I will now start placing the tickets and then adhering the elements. I just move them up a little bit so I have some room to do this, and I'm tearing the tickets because I don't want to have them perfectly. I just wanted to have some bits and pieces. I'm using a glue stick for the tickets to glue them down because the paper is quite thin. This will work out really nicely. For the other elements, I'm going to use some liquid craft glue. I'm now going to glue down the mushrooms and the leaves in the same way that I had laid them out just before. I also wanted to create a title for the tags, and I picked out some jelly prints that would work color-wise great with the focal images, and I also picked out the letters from our A to Z stamp set, and I'm stamping some words. I think I stamped grow and fall, and I just stamped directly to the jelly print, and then I cut the letters out just in a square shape, and then I'm going to adhere them to the tags later. Instead of the word fall, I picked the word cozy. And I've already adhered the letters to the text. And I have stamped the grow with the bigger letters, which only have an outline. So I'm coloring that in with a Posca paint pen. The cozy I have stamped with the smaller letters, which are plain black. Of course, you can stamp them with other inks, or for example, you can emboss the letters with some kind of metallic or gold powder. These are my finished tags. I hope you enjoyed the video today and you are inspired, and I hope you will see us next time. Bye!